Our theme today, garden, and we are recording. Thank you so much for pressing the record button. And again, we're very pleased to have you here on this fine afternoon in November to talk about eating the great produce that we're growing in our school garden. So if you could please go to the next slide, Jeannie. Again, greetings, welcome. As we've done in the previous sessions, we would really appreciate if you could put your name, the county where you're growing, and your favorite garden snack into the chat to introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, tell us what you're interested in doing. We will use this information in the chat as proof of attendance to help us with the processing the professional development credit. So it is important that you put that in, especially if your Zoom name is not kind of showing accurately. That's really great. So thank you. See that we like carrots and lettuce and peas. Those are all delicious. So looking forward to see what others like. Okra, microgreens, awesome. Thank you so much for adding. So yeah, continue to put your information, your favorite garden snacks in the chat, and we can go to the next slide. Again, a little bit of Zoom housekeeping. We want to make sure everyone has a good experience, whether this is your millionth time on Zoom or maybe your first time, if that's possible. Some helpful viewing options is exiting the full screen. We know that lots of people are already using the chat, but clicking on the chat button to access that, clicking on the participant button at the bottom, this can give you access to the raise hand function, and that can be pretty useful during our Q&A time at the end if you want to unmute yourself. And we do ask that you keep your video camera off to allow some greater bandwidth for all of us here. And additionally, please mute your microphone so that we can move forward without a ton of distraction. Next slide. This series is brought to you by the IFAS Extension Family Nutrition Program and Florida Agriculture in the Classroom. We are so proud and pleased to offer this. We're so grateful that you all are coming, that you're attending, that you have found this valuable too. So it really has been a pleasure. We have designed this series for you to build garden confidence, to foster collaboration among you all, and really to strengthen the garden programs across the state for long-term success. That's why we're offering such a wide variety of topics, and we hope that you find this useful. Next slide. I work for the IFAS Extension Family Nutrition Program, or FNP for short. We are one of Florida's SNAP education implementing agencies. We work in 40 counties across the state, really seeking to make the healthy choice the easy choice and provide free nutrition education to our lower income Floridians. And we've been working here since 1996. Next slide. Our goal is to help our limited resource families in Florida access more nutritious food choices on a budget and adopt healthier eating and physical activity habits. So all of this is working to reduce obesity and chronic diseases in the state. Next slide. Today, I will be your facilitator, and I'll present a little bit too about harvesting hints. My name is Kelly Wilson, and I'm a food systems specialist with FNP serving Southwest Florida. I work in Lee, Collier, and Charlotte counties. We are so pleased to have with us today Chef Paula Kendrick with the Division of Food, Nutrition, and Wellness with the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. She is the state chef, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with Chef Paula. You have seen her amazing work before, and you're very happy to have her on. And if you haven't worked with her before, if you haven't seen what she's done, today is your treat. So we're super excited that she's able to contribute with us. And we're also very excited to have Tracy Johnston, who is a teacher at Thunderbolt Elementary School in Clay County. Tracy is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to gardening with students and getting them excited about eating the produce grown in the garden and really engaging them in lots of ways. So we're just going to be more thrilled to have both of them on with us today. Next slide. As far as an overview for what you can expect today, we'll start out with some general harvesting tips to know when to pick your crops. And then we'll move on to Chef Paula, who will provide us an awesome cooking demonstration, talk about cooking and eating from the garden, And finally, we'll hear from Tracy, who will give her testimony as a teacher, which we hope will be inspiring to you and some really good applicable information for what you can do in your school. Next slide. And we will handle the questions at the end. So feel free to type your questions into the chat as they come. We know that a lot of times if you don't write it down, it can leave and you won't remember it. So we will be collecting a queue of questions to go through at the end. But if there's something that we are able to answer in the chat, we'll definitely do that as well. So you can expect the 30-minute question and answer period at the end. And if you can't stay that long, you can always look for it in the recording when we send that link out later this week. Next slide. So it's my pleasure to present on harvesting hints today. Next slide. We're going to start out with some general harvest tips and then dive into some crop-specific information. So as an overview, it's really important when harvesting to know the variety of your crop and label your plants. This will help you a lot because, as we know, there's a lot of variation in different crop types and even in the different varieties that crops have. You could have yellow tomatoes, you could have red tomatoes, you could have any size of bean pod, and knowing the type of variety is really helpful to know what to look for when your plant is getting about ready to harvest. And this varietal knowledge and the plant labels are especially important to pair with the days to harvest information. So the days to harvest information can be found generally on your seed packet, or if you purchase this transplant from a nursery or somewhere else that, you can look in any number of guides. We have that in some of the information we've shared on the Google Drive. But this days to harvest information will tell you when the plant, about the number of days it will take the plant to mature and be ready to harvest, as the name would indicate. And this is not an exact measure, it's more of an estimate. So you could harvest a plant earlier or later than this timeline, but it's very helpful to plan. It's helpful to plan to match your crop cycle, especially as teachers, with your classroom timeline. So you don't want to plant a crop and then have it be harvested all the way during winter break when no one's around. But it would be much more ideal to say, let's have a harvest party in November and count backwards in the days to ensure that we harvest everything we need for a recipe at the same time, and plan that way. So that's a good kind of rule of thumb there. And this is pretty simple, but when it looks recognizable, but when it looks like you recognize it in the grocery store, you're pretty much okay to pick it. Don't be afraid of taking a piece of produce off of the crop. There's nothing that can go wrong there. This is the whole purpose of what we're doing to garden. We want to grow the food and take a chance, pick it off the plant. Don't be afraid to fail. You could pick one and test it out. And a theme that will continue on kind of repeating for the rest of this little section is that harvesting earlier is generally better than harvesting later, because if you harvest it, it's more likely that you'll get to eat it instead of a pest or a disease or any other sort of thing that might steal your crop before you're able to get it. So if you pick it, then that's probably it's more likely that you will eat it than something else. Next slide. We also want to be sure to practice harvest safety in the garden. I think this year we've all learned a lot more about safety and sanitation than we ever really wanted to know. So I hope you all know how to wash your hands by now. But we want to make sure you're washing your hands both before and after harvesting and using clean tools, clean gloves, harvest containers, and work surfaces during the harvest. Since we're going to eat this produce, we want to make sure that it's safe and sanitized, and really avoid cross-contamination. So be aware of what you have been touching, both with your hands and your tools and your containers prior to the harvest and even after the harvest. And after harvesting all the plants, you want to make sure those are sanitized as well. So a lot more information can be found in the IFAS Grow to Learn guide, which is in the Google Drive on page 55 for more harvest safety information. But just as a general overview, make sure you and everything you're handling is clean. Next slide. Now we're getting into some crop-specific information. So starting with leafy greens. I'm going to talk about lettuce and spinach. For leaf lettuce, we talk about using the cut and come again method, so you can remove the outer leaves of the crop as it grows and maintain the crown in the center so that you can continue harvesting the lettuce throughout the season. Head lettuce, of course, you're going to want to wait till it forms a softball or melon-sized ball, but head lettuce can be a little bit tricky, especially here in Florida with our heat and our pests. So the longer that you leave it to form a head, the more time that the pests have to come, that the diseases have to come, and that the heat could cause the plant to bolt. So what do I mean when I say bolting? Is the plant going to run away from you? No. But in some ways it will, because it's, as you can see in this picture of the bolted lettuce, it's deciding that it wants to go to seed. The plant is stressed. Maybe it's too hot or too sunny, or it lacks water. And so the plant is about to die, and it wants to produce seed to spread its offspring again. So the thing with lettuce, though, is that after the crop bolts, the lettuce becomes bitter and loses its flavor, and it's not quite as delicious to eat. So please do be aware of bolting, especially with your lettuces. And this is especially more of an issue with the head lettuces that you would be leaving in the ground for a longer time. Next slide. So we do have a video to show you how to harvest lettuce in a cut and come again method. We know that over the internet it's kind of hard to show you how to harvest crops. We wanted to do this hands-on, but video is the next best thing. So Jeannie, if you could please show us the video, that would be awesome.
You got the iceberg. So we're going to cut some of this, and I'll show you how to do cut and come again. So the idea behind cut and come again is by selecting leaves around the outside, you're still saving the crown to allow the plant to continue growing, because they grow from a single growth point. If you harvest that single growth point, it's not going to continue to grow anymore. So what I like to do for speed of harvest, especially if we got a lot to do, get a really, really super sharp, be careful kitchen knife. Dull will not work, or knives, or scissors also work. Scissors or knives. I prefer knives because it allows me to hold with one hand, and I can come in here and just cut just like that. And what I've done is I've cut all those leaves, but I've left that center crown for the more to continue growing. And then we're going to come over here, do the same thing. And then you just hold on to the leaves, and that way you get leaf lettuce, not head lettuce, but it's going to continue growing up, and you're going to get way more production. Here's some romaine here, another little plant of romaine. And I like to. I
think we can stop there. Thank you. Great. So brassicas and other greens, kale, chard, collards, mustard greens, you can also use this method of snipping the outside leaves, but these do get a lot larger than your lettuces in terms of leaf size. But when you pick the younger leaves, you'll generally have more flavor. And when you pick the longer, larger leaves, those will be more suitable for cooking. And a kind of fun fact about the brassicas, you see here in the photo, we have some flowering mustard greens, but brassicas are different than lettuces because you can they maintain their flavor even when flowering. So that could be a fun edible flower to eat with your students if you accidentally have some flowering crops. Next slide. This is going to show you the method for harvesting the outside of the brassica plant.
Harvesting that I talk about, I usually use two hands, one to kind of support the plant, and the other is to gently pull on the outer.
Just give it one. So super snowy, cold outside, and here we are after just
So,
5 weeks. Let's see.
we can also just go back to the slide.
Talk about, I usually use two hands, one to kind of support the plant and the other is to gently pull on the outermost leaf. I'm going to try my best with just one hand here, but if your plant is resisting, definitely use like a knife or scissors or something to cut at the base of the stem. But you find the plant that you want to harvest from, so we'll use this big bok choy here, and you look at its stems and you find the ones that are most outermost. So I'll probably take this back one here and this front one here, and then just gently pull. See, with two hands I probably wouldn't rip that bad, but there you go. There's the stem or the leaf, and then just repeat. And then I could do the same with like a topsoil like this. So just come down here, look for an outermost leaf, gently pull it off, and there you go.
Yeah, that's how you harvest brassicas. Our next crop type are legumes or peas and beans. This is something that's really important to pay attention to your variety because there's a lot of variation in the types of legumes that you could eat. But generally for peas, they will be about 2 inches long, and for beans, about 4 inches long when harvesting. And they're pretty easy. Just pick them off the plant with your hands. And the more that you pick, the more that you remove the bean pods, the more that the plant will want to produce. So it will keep flowering. So make sure to pick those overripe pods that you may have missed earlier on in the season, as that will spur the plant to produce more flowers. Next slide. And here we just have two examples of different legume crops to show you that you could be looking for some very different things. So on the left, we have some bush beans, and on the right, we have pigeon peas. And in the bush bean case, you're really looking to eat the pod, so you don't want the bean to be fully formed yet inside of the pod. So you're going to pick it a little bit earlier. But for pigeon peas, the goal is to eat the pea that's inside. So you'll want to wait until the pea that's inside has been, fully matured on the inside. And of course, that's really easy to do. You can just pick it off and see how much is matured. Again, there's nothing wrong with just picking one and seeing what's going on in there. But this is just an example to show that your end result of what you want to eat will influence the way that you look at a plant to find out when to harvest. Next slide. Cucurbits are a diverse family made up of cucumbers and squash and melons and all sorts of things. But kind of key takeaways here is that for zucchini and summer squash, bigger is not always better. The smaller that you pick a crop, generally the more flavor it will be had that it will have. So don't wait for it to get huge. Pick it when it's small and enjoy the delicious zucchini. For winter squash, on the other hand, you're going to want to wait for the skin to become fully hardened and uniform in color, fully colored, as you can see with these seminal pumpkins in the picture, and leave some stem attached when you're taking it off the vine. Next slide. Cucumbers, again, will produce more as you pick them. They'll generally be smaller for pickling and larger for eating fresh. Again, pay attention to your variety, but here's a picture, or not a picture, a video of cucumber harvesting. We've got a great cucumber right there, just ripping it off the plant, and it's beautiful. So that would probably be for fresh. Roots are tricky, as you can't see them. They're underneath the ground. So how are you supposed to know when you can harvest it? Again, we come back to our days to harvest. That's a really good clue. Once you reach that point, that's a good time to start digging around, seeing what's going on down there. But another good tip is that the roots, as they develop, will start to peek up above the ground. So you can see their width. You can see how big they're getting, even just by looking at the surface, because they've popped out a bit. But to avoid breakage when pulling the root crop out of the ground, it is helpful to loosen the soil first with a digging fork or some other implement to really just make that process a lot easier and make sure you get the entire thing in one piece. Something we don't want to forget too is that for a lot of root crops, you can actually eat the greens. So we have listed here, you can eat radish greens, carrot greens, sweet potato, and even beet greens. So you don't need to let those those greens go to waste either when you enjoy your root crops. Next slide. This is a really great video of radishes to show you how they really are popping up out of the ground. So you can see just picking it up. They're all ready for harvest. Radishes and other crops too will, vary in width depending on the variety, and depending on the plant spacing. So these were planted pretty close together, so they are a bit smaller, but that's probably also a function of the variety, so you do want to pay attention to that. And there they are, beautiful. Next slide. Fruiting veggies, the Solanum family, kind of a key takeaway here is to be gentle. Be gentle with your eggplant and peppers and tomatoes. They're a bit more delicate, and similar to some of the other fruiting crops, the more that you harvest them, the more that will induce the plant to flower and create new fruits. Next slide. With tomatoes, we obviously know there's a lot of variation in tomato varieties, but you don't necessarily need to wait until the tomato is fully colored, until it's totally red, like you see down there at the bottom on that vine, to pick it. As soon as the tomato starts to turn color, what they call a first blush, you can take it off the plant, put it in a room temperature space, and allow it to ripen on its own. And that, again, will ensure that you are the one that eats the tomato instead of a bird, instead of something else that you wish hadn't taken it before you did. So especially for, I'm sure, you have so many things going on in your lives, and teachers in your schools, and it's really easy to miss something because they do turn pretty quickly. So picking them earlier rather than later can make sure that you actually get to enjoy the crop that you spent so long caring for. Next slide. And here's an example of a pepper video. We just pick it right off the plant. It looks just like the peppers in the grocery store. So be confident when you're harvesting. There it is. It's beautiful. Next slide. Eggplants, again, there's a lot of variety and color and shape, size. But something I want to illustrate here is that we have that picture of a white eggplant there at the top, and that's actually the same plant down there at the bottom where the eggplants have yellowed. So that's a sign that they've gone too far. So once your eggplants start yellowing, you're not going to want to eat them. They're doing something else, starting to go to seed. The seeds are maturing and they're not so great to eat. So once you notice some yellow eggplants, hopefully you don't get to that point, you've harvested it earlier, but pay attention to your other eggplants so you can get them before they turn yellow. Next slide. And finally, herbs. There's a great variety of herbs, and we're generally growing herbs for their foliage. And in this way, you'll want to begin harvesting the herb plants once they have steadily begun to produce new growth. And actually pruning them back and harvesting them will induce the plants and encourage the plants to continue producing. So you can actually create a healthier plant by harvesting it and eating it, which is awesome. You just want to make sure that you leave enough foliage for the plant to continue photosynthesizing so it can produce more leaf matter. Something you'll want to be aware of with herbs is flowering. Generally with herbs, flowering can change the taste of the herb. And so tip is to pick off the flower buds if you start to notice that they're going to flower. So remove, pick off the bud and remove it before it can form a flower and change that taste. Unless, of course, you're growing cilantro for coriander, which is the seed of cilantro or something like that. So if you're trying to produce seed, don't pick off the flowers, but if you're producing the herbs for foliage for the leaf matter, then you'll want to remove those buds. Next slide. This is a video of basil harvesting.
I'm Ashley, and today I'm going to show you how to harvest your basil plants. Now, basil plants love to be pruned. The more you harvest them, the more they're going to grow. Now, if you need to make pesto, or if you want to trim them to make them a nice, healthy plant, you're going to trim 1/4 of an inch above a node. A node is where these little leaves actually start coming out from the stem. I'm going to take my scissors, just pinch about 1/4 of an inch above that. Now, you can take your stems and trim down longer, and I wouldn't store your basil in the refrigerator. They have very tender leaves. They prefer to be in a glass jar with water at room temperature.
Thank you so much, Jeannie, for going through all those slides and showing the video. And we are now going to go to the next slide, and I'm going to hand it over to Chef Paula. And before I hand it over completely to her, can we go to the next slide? Because we're actually going to stop sharing the PowerPoint, and we want to make sure that you can see her nice and big on your screen so you don't miss a thing of what she's about to do. So if you go to your left, yes, no, right, top corner, you see the view button. And if you change from gallery view to speaker view, that will make sure that she is big, and you may need to adjust your screen a little bit to make sure you see her, but we just wanted to give you that Zoom tip before she starts. But we're so glad to have you here. Chef Paula, welcome.
Thank you.
Hand it over to you.
Thank you. Well, it's so nice to be here. Some great tips that you've already given us. First of all, I have to say that I am doing a recipe that was created with the Florida Ag in the Classroom recipe contest. It was one of the submissions we had within the past year or two, and it is a pesto recipe that was created at Krista McAuliffe Middle School. And basically it was with their herbs that they were growing in their school garden. And of course, pesto is a great way. It's an easy thing to do easily in a blender right in the classroom. And it is something that you can incorporate. You can mix pesto with yogurt and make it a veggie dip. You can mix it with hummus. You can use it also just as a spread on a cracker or with a little bit of oil on bread. There are a lot of things that we can do with herbs to create the pesto, to get the kids to really understand the flavor profiles of herbs. And of course, this recipe does call for basil and Italian parsley. But the beauty also of pesto is that you can use many other things. You could use arugula, you could use spinach, you could use other herbs, oregano, parsley, you've got basil, but I've even done it with just arugula and seasoning. So there are a lot of different things that you can do. You can use your greens from your tops of your root veggies, your beet greens. So keep that in mind. And also with herbs, I think it's really important. I love herbs because they're a great starter. If you are just getting started with your garden, they're a great starter. I really encourage the kids. I like to pass around the leaves. I like to let the kids smell them, touch them, actually experience the oils. I also like to, when I am doing demonstrations with students, cooking demonstrations and tasting demonstrations, I really like to teach students about being good tasters, which means I just like to teach them about having an open mind, about using positive descriptive words, and about how to really talk about what they're tasting. And we don't want them to yuck someone else's yum. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. This recipe is going to be available online. This recipe calls for 2 cups of freshly packed basil and 2 cups of freshly packed, or 2 cups of fresh Italian parsley. But again, use basil and arugula. If that's all you've got, use basil and oregano. Use some other herbs if you've got them. Definitely experiment. This also calls for lemon juice. This asks for a tablespoon of lemon juice, a tablespoon of lemon zest. You want to make sure that your lemon is room temperature before you zest it. Zest it before you juice it. So that way, when your lemon is at room temperature, first of all, you're really maximizing the flavor profile of those oils in the zest. But it's also, you get a lot more juice out of it when you're trying to juice it. This recipe calls for a ½ cup of olive oil, but I will tell you, oftentimes you might need more just to get that moving in the blender. So don't be shy to add more olive oil. You do want to use a nice flavorful olive oil or a light flavored oil. I definitely recommend using olive oil in my opinion, because that really helps to add the flavors into the pesto itself. Pesto was created in Italy because of the overabundance of basil they have during the summer months. It was like, wow, this is something we can do with all of our basil. And in addition, as I discussed but it's even great on pasta. So a lot of great things in eggs, So I've added my olive oil, my lemon zest. I'm going to add this calls for a couple of tablespoons of honey. This does make it fairly sweet. I would recommend, if you're not sure about the sweetness, start out with less honey, but definitely take this opportunity to really use local honey, teach the importance of that local honey, of our Florida honey, all of the importance that we have, all of the benefits of our local honeys and what they can do for our, sorry, my dog. I've just added a couple of cloves of garlic. We're gonna add a pinch of salt, a pinch of pepper. And this recipe does call for a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, but if you have concerns about dairy in your classroom or anywhere else, just omit the cheese, no big deal. This recipe also calls for almonds, but again, if you have concerns about nuts, I'm gonna use sunflower seeds, but you could also use garbanzo beans if you wanted to add that little creaminess, but you were worried about any nuts or seeds being in your recipe. So we've added all of that. I'm going to turn this on really quickly. Bear with me. Okay, sorry about the noise there, but I just want to show you, look at how bright and green and colorful that is. I love the color that pesto has. Again, this is something you can put, the kids, I think really the kids really love the green color. They love the flavor profiles. Get them talking about what they're tasting. Is it salty? Is it sweet? Is it, you know, what do you taste? One of the things I love to do with arugula and these and things like radish, because they're so peppery and spicy, let the kids talk about those flavors. This pesto will sit in your refrigerator covered for probably a good 3 to 4 weeks. It can also be put in little ice cube trays and frozen, and then you can pull that out and use that whenever you want. Again, mix it with yogurt and make a veggie dip. Mix it with hummus and make a veggie dip. Encourage your kids to try new things with their pesto. And that's about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love how versatile and simple that recipe is. That's amazing. Yeah,
it is
really
very versatile,
appreciate
very
that.
easy to do in a classroom, very simple. And
Exactly.
here's the
We want to
school
make
garden recipe contest. We're going to be, opening that up again. Recipes due March 1st. And of course, this year we are opening it up to, we understand the restrictions right now that we have. So if it comes from a classroom or a home, all of the things will be considered for sure. And we're really looking forward to getting the entries. We've had some great entries in the past. So.
fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, we really appreciate that. And this recipe contest. I think this is so cool. And I know I saw that Becky just posted in the chat the place online on the Florida Ag in the Classroom website where the recipe books are housed. So everyone be sure to check that out. These are recipes created by teachers and students for teachers and students. So this is a really great opportunity to eat where you're growing. Next slide. And now we are so excited to pass the mic on to Tracy Johnston. As I said, she's a teacher at Thunderbolt Elementary School, and she has pretty amazing things to share with you today. So I'm excited to hear from Tracy.
Hey, thank you so much. This is very exciting for me. I do want to mention that anything that I am talking about, any links will be available in the drive. So you don't need to worry about that. So 4.5 years ago, I actually attended my first Florida Agriculture in the Classroom training seminar in Hollywood, Florida, and my life will never be the same. I now have a greenhouse in my backyard. I'm known, I have a big garden at school. I'm known as the plant lady here at school. And if you don't know what a plant lady is, that's a cat lady, but you have plants. But anyway, I'm just going to share some suggestions. Involve students in the planting, watering, weeding, and harvesting process, and they will be much more likely to eat what they've grown. You can see here, my students just absolutely love spending time in the garden. I actually trick them into picking up leaves. You can see they just are having such a good time. And I try to include kids of all ages. And I just think that, you know, they thought it was a reward to be cleaning and picking up and weeding. And so I just think that that alone, when they get their hands dirty, they're planting, they're watering, they're really invested. Also, students who are not performing well in academic and behavioral areas can find success and gain self-confidence through gardening. This can really help to build teacher and student relationships. I'm sorry, I've done Google Classroom all day and I'm blah, okay. But I had a student a few years ago who had some rough days, and at the end of the day at recess, I would just say, hey, I really need some help in the garden. Could you help me water? And he would come and water, and he just knew that our relationship was okay, even though things had not gone well that day. And so this is really good for teacher and student relationships. Next slide. So I think it's really important to share pictures of students eating celery and other crops with parents. You can share these garden activity pictures with parents with via Blooms, emails, Google Classroom, Blackboard, whatever you use. And just to kind of explain some of these pictures, we harvested Cavendish bananas last year. Every kid got to eat their own banana. They were so excited, and we had to watch those ripen for the longest time. And then I cut it off and we hung it in the classroom. So we were watching those. Oh, we were just salivating, ready to eat those bananas. We also harvested a pineapple, and it was just so much fun. Here I've got a student who took home some peppers and onions, and she made a huge salad at home and wanted to share that with me. And whenever we tasted anything, I really shared with the parents what we were doing. So here we were tasting some peppers and then celery, and also propagating the celery. At the beginning of the year, I try to teach lessons about respect, and I teach about self-respect. Respecting myself by eating healthy foods, getting enough sleep, exercise, saying no to drugs, and I teach the My Plate lessons so that students are familiar with food groups and how much they should be eating. So we fill out the template with foods that we like, and I actually open up my own lunchbox and just take out things from my lunchbox to show them what I'm eating for lunch, and we talk about where these fit on the plate. A lot of times I would walk through the cafeteria and I'd hear things like, Mrs. Johnston, look at my carrots and celery. These are my vegetables. Look, here's my cheese for my dairy. So they really get it. And the biggest thing that I try to teach them is that half of your plate should be fruits and vegetables. And if they just pick up on that, that is going to make a big difference in their life. Florida Agriculture in the Classroom has a wonderful lesson called My Garden, My Plate. That's really good for that. And also the Choose My Plate Gov has templates and all kinds of things. And while I'm talking about Florida Agriculture in the Classroom, I know that they've been discussed at length here. I just have to tell you as a teacher that that site is a goldmine for resources, lesson plans, training, makes and takes, grant information, and just so much more. That's just really a great resource to tap into. My big suggestion is keep it simple. Grow radishes. Radishes are 30 days from seed to harvest. We grew radishes, and I had students taste just very, very thin slices. And I know you're going to be shocked, but they liked them so much that they inhaled those radishes. I took plates of radish slices out to recess, and they just could not get enough. They just loved them. I have students who just beg to taste green onions at recess and mint leaves. You'd just be surprised at what they want to taste. Another suggestion is to propagate your groceries. Celery, green onions, garlic, potatoes, carrot tops, pineapple. These are things that most people have around, and they're so easy to grow. And they're just so much fun. I do have a link with instructions provided also for that. I love using the Harvest of the Month crop activities. they cover all subject areas, and the students learn where the Florida crops are grown. Last month was grapefruit, and this month is mushrooms. And then of course, the big thing is to taste those crops. They just absolutely love that part. I also used tasting journals this last year. So my students had to record what we were tasting, whether they liked it or not, how we ate it. And I have to say that students are much more likely to try a crop if they're recording if they liked it. I had a lot of students who said no way about tasting some things, but when they saw others tasting it and writing about it, a lot of them changed their mind. One thing that I did make was green shakes. And a lot of kids just said, no way, I will never eat anything green. But I just used those little tiny medicine cups and just give them a little tiny taste. And you would not believe how many kids changed their mind and then actually liked them. Make class recipes at school. We had so much fun with this. Just give them a little taste, and then they're going to be hooked and they will make that recipe at home. I've had students begging me for recipes before I could even get it out there. And I have to say, one recipe that I'm sharing is for rosemary bread, and it takes 12 hours to rise. So you've got a science experiment right there. Have a harvest party that was discussed a little earlier, and students sample dishes made with crops from the garden, and some then you can provide those recipes for use at home. Some things that have worked for me in the past are spinach pizza, fresh vegetable salad, veggie waffles, mint lemonade, honey, and pretzels. Those were some winners. Oregano plants are wonderful. They're so easy to propagate. So we usually propagate from one big plant at the beginning of the year, and the students have their own little plant to take care of all year long. And then we put bows on the little pots and send them home for Mother's Day gifts. And they just are so proud of those plants. We also learn how to use oregano, what it smells like, what it tastes like, and we also dehydrate it. So they're actual experts about oregano by the time they go home. And then this slide kind of shows a lot of the STEM. So I think it's really great to have science experiments in the classroom. There's a wonderful soil sort lesson with FAITC, and you can see here my kids are dividing the living things from the dead and the different pieces. Also, we were looking at different types of soil, and then I incorporate a lot of math. In fact, I had a math night where the students and the families came and they met in the garden, and they had to measure the perimeter, they had to compare centimeters and inches, and they just had a blast. Another experiment that I love is the Heinz tomato experiment. And this is actually a blind experiment where you're given 2 packs of seeds, and one of them went to space, and you don't know which one went to space. So you grow them until they're seedlings and you turn in the data, and then you find out. So you're actually making a hypothesis about which one went to space. And I have to tell you that many of my students tried tomatoes because we were growing them. So it does, things like that do encourage the students to try what they're growing. Another activity that I love is the peas to the table contest. So Thomas Jefferson used to love to grow peas, and he would have a contest with his neighbors every year, and whoever could bring a bowl full of peas to the table first was the winner. And from what I've found out, he usually did not win, but there's a link that gives there's a book that goes with this, and there are lesson plans. Now it does tell you to use English peas, but last year I actually did this. I had 2 different blocks and we had a race. So we didn't send them home, but we had the 2 blocks race each other, and we actually grew English peas and snap peas, and we compared them, and that was really a hit. Another thing that I love are the man in overall videos for kids. And the man in overalls is Nathan Ballantyne. And he started, when he was 8 years old, he started gardening. So the kids really do connect with him. And he has films that, he has videos that were filmed right in Tallahassee. And he teaches children how to start a garden, when to water, how to transplant, all kinds of really great lessons there. Also, the mystery science lessons with Doug are just excellent. They have all kinds of short lessons and long lessons with activities, and those are really fun. A lot of garden activities. Work with your cafeteria manager. Provide crops for the garden for a lunch menu item and make a big deal about it. Last year, we actually provided oregano and onions for spaghetti sauce, and I had it announced in the morning announcements. My students were so excited, they could not wait for lunch. People stopped me all over the school telling me that that was the best spaghetti I've ever tasted. Another thing you can do is hand out baggies of fresh basil, oregano, and give those baggies to the students to take home. Also, I used to put a bunch of baggies up front for the teachers to take home. That's a great way to recruit teachers for your cause, and they become invested also. You can sponsor an after-school garden club in the spring. So the first year that I did this, so many students signed up that I had to put them into 2 different groups. And we had to alternate I just was not good about saying no, but we alternated for 12 weeks. They each got 6 weeks of really fun activities. Now I work with the Anchored for Life Club, which is military students. And this is a great way for them to become invested also in their school. If you're too busy to do an after school club, you could do like a 15-minute before school once a week club where students just show up and they do whatever you're working on. They just love any type of activity and involvement that they can get. Invite community experts to visit the classroom. A teacher at my school is a beekeeper, and she taught us all about how honey is made, and we even tasted her honey. This was just really amazing. If you are teaching remotely, and I'm going to tell you the truth, I am, it is really a whole different ball game. It is really challenging, but you can make it work. I have simple live Google Meets from the garden. So every Friday I go out there after announcements and I take my iPad, and my students just love to see how the plants are growing and changing. You can also let them share what they're growing at home or share what you're growing in your classroom. And most of these things that I've talked about, believe it or not, they can be used in a Google Classroom. So videos, recipes, all kinds of these experiments, you can do these in the classroom or even have them do some of those at home. So I did mention those Mystery Science and those Man in Overall videos. Another resource is American Farm Bureau Foundation for Agriculture. They provide at-home learning opportunities, and you can either visit their site or sign up to receive brand new resources every week. So they do all the work right there. So I just have to tell you that, you know, I've had a lot of not just students, but teachers who have been involved and want to know about this plant or this. My own children in my life have started planting plants and become interested in this. My principal, who retired, actually came back to help me with the garden club, and she's now gardening at her home. So follow these tips and you can become a plant lady just like me.
I love it, Tracy. I love it. Thank you so much. That was amazing. I hope that you all found that to be so valuable and really speak to your experience. It's just such a pleasure to hear what you're doing with your classroom and you know, overcoming this obstacle, especially of this year with remote learning and teaching. Yeah, that's definitely heroic to continue the gardening efforts even in the midst of all this. And I'm sure that's what so many of you on the call are doing too. So a humble thank you to all of the grade school garden leaders out there for making a difference in the lives of our students. And we can go to the next slide to wrap up our key points from today. In terms of harvesting tips, like I said so many times, know your variety, think about the days to harvest, and don't be afraid to pick. As Chef Paula just so wonderfully showed us, you can use very simple, versatile recipes in your classroom, making it right there using just a blender, incorporating anything you have on hand, herbs which are easy and simple, any sort of greens that you have, and of course, the list goes on with other types of recipes. And you can definitely refer to the Florida Ag in the Classroom recipe books, which Becky linked to and which is also linked in the Google Drive. And Tracy was very kind to share a number of the recipes that she mentioned as well, the bread and the green shake, and I believe another one too, Tracy, that you shared in the Google Drive. So these are tried and true classroom-friendly recipes that we're super excited to share with you. So you can start cooking and eating in your garden and classroom. And of course, Tracy, with your great testimony of involving students and having fun, and that making all the difference for students being willing to try these foods that maybe they've never even, seen outside of the produce aisle, let alone know that it came from somewhere other than Publix, and they wanted to actually eat it. So that definitely makes all the difference, and we're so grateful for what you've done and shared. Next slide. So thank you so much again for attending this session today. We, as always, would love for you to stay in touch in the Facebook group and refer to our Google Drive to reference all of the awesome resources that we talked about today. And we do have a session survey like always. This survey includes a new question because, as you know, as we've stated, this is the last series of the fall session, and we are super excited to get started again in the spring. And we want to hear from you about when you would like to meet. So we're meeting on Tuesday, February 2nd in next year, but we want to know what you think and what your preferences are regarding starting at 3:30 p.m. or moving the start time to 4 p.m. So filling out that survey is the chance that you have to tell us what you thought of today's session, and also make your voice known about whether you'd like to start at 3:30 or 4 in the spring. So don't miss that survey link that Selena just put in the chat, and we're excited to interact with you all in the Facebook group kind of in the meantime between now and February. And we will go through the next two slides, but we are excited about the question and answer time that we have right now. Thank you so much, everybody. Also, Selena, if you could please help us with the question and answer, as you have been taking notes of those questions. And if you have more questions, please just put those in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself. If you have a pressing question, you just want to say it out loud, you are more than welcome to do that.
Sure. Well, we actually don't have that many questions in the chat. We did have someone shared, let me see, Laura Rocco shared that they received discarded pineapple crowns at the farmer's market and grow pineapples in their school garden. And Lisa Diezengoff asked, how long do the pineapples take? And I'm not sure if we got an answer on that.
I guess I see that Laura said pineapples take over a year. Patience and something else.
There we go.
Patience is true with pineapples. Tracy, what was your experience growing that pineapple? Oh, sorry, you're muted.
It was definitely over a year, but I didn't even notice that we had one starting until I looked really closely. So yeah, it is. Yes, you do have a lot of patience, but it's worth it. Best pineapple ever.
Okay, and this is Laura, the pineapple lady. And it does take over a year. And the nice thing was that as kids came back the next year, they could see what had happened over the summer and really became very attached to their pineapples.
That's awesome. That is a great thing, with perennial plants that you don't necessarily get with annuals. You get to see the progression over time as the plants grow. And, if you're in a school from 1st to 5th grade, you can see many years of growth on a tree and fruit producing and pineapples. That's great. I see that Shelley in the chat asked about tips for food safety when harvesting and serving. Can I hand that over to you, Paula?
Absolutely. I thought you really basically the harvesting tips that you said as far as making sure that your hands are washed, making sure certainly if you have a sick child, you know, I know we like to take kids out there to harvest, but if they're sick, don't let them harvest at all. And harvesting, absolutely using clean tools, clean buckets to harvest into. And then of course, just even when we take that into storing and serving, it's really important that once we do harvest, if there are some damaged leaves on, say, our basil or whatever, we take off those damaged leaves before we rinse them. And I definitely agree, basil needs to be kept in room temperature. I keep mine in a sunny windowsill, but like for other herbs like cilantro and things like that, you're going to want to definitely rinse those, dry them fairly well. You don't want them sitting in a lot of water, and then wrap them with some paper towel or something to help wick away that moisture, and keep those in either a plastic bag, or I even keep them in Tupperware in the refrigerator. But I also will keep things like cilantro in a jar. Just, I don't have one here, but like in just a ball jar with water in the bottom in the refrigerator as well. Making sure to the danger zone, keeping all of that in mind. The danger zone, just so you know it, is basically 41 to 140. So if it's, and the temperature is anywhere from 41 to 140, you're in the danger zone, or 135, I guess, you're in the danger zone. So you want to make sure that if it's in those danger zones, once it's been prepared, that you minimize your time that it's in those zones. And of course, you know, I can't speak enough about the allergen stuff. That's certainly also some things to think about in keeping food safe. And then when you are heating things, making sure you're heating them to the proper temperature.
That's great. That's really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? We have two amazing guest speakers, so don't be afraid. Ask your questions.
There was one other question earlier, which is about whitefly. So not entirely harvesting related, but a gardening question. So this was from Elizabeth Eubanks. What happens if you get whitefly? They have a tower garden at their school and got whitefly. They tried neem oil and then finally had to trash everything and start over. And they started over, and 2 weeks later, again, they have whitefly. So I guess the question is what to do about that. Kelly, do you want to, well, there's the question.
Yeah, was the crop mentioned?
So
That's
it was, hi, this is Elizabeth.
Oh, hi.
Hi, and yeah, I'm down here in Pensacola, so I really hope when y'all consider the time that you consider us, because it's hard to, I have to bolt, anyway, we're on Central Time in Florida. But the whitefly, it started on the arugula, and then it didn't like the kale so much, but it really got over all of the crops. So I'm looking at, 30 something plants, it became disastrous. And I worked it as hard as I would work something outside, but having it inside is kind of different too. And then we completely emptied the drawer for almost 2.5, 3 weeks, which a whitefly thing is 30 days. And just spraying that kind of neem oil and everything. I mean, we couldn't get rid of it. Outside is so much different with soapy water and stuff, but having it inside, I don't know. I'm ready to throw the $1,000 garden out the window and stick.
Oh man, that is a rough situation. Whitefly is definitely nefarious in its persistence. So at least there's comfort, and it's not only you, but that also does make it harder to get rid of, as it's not only unique to your experience. At this time, I don't have the best answer for you. If somebody else on the call would like to share any experience, I mean, I think that we see Jose Zayas saying insecticide soap and clean, very good. So, that's kind of what I was thinking in terms of making sure, like you said, removing everything, every last trace of material that could harbor so many times today, harbor the whitefly. wanting to remove that completely, clean it very well, sanitize everything, make sure, especially if it's inside, try and make sure that it can't come back again. I know that when you're buying transplants or other plants from nurseries or big box stores, the white fly can come in on them, so that could introduce it again.
Yeah, so with a tower garden, you really are growing it in a little like a peat medium. And so I did my first round because I do have a huge community garden and then I have school gardens. So I was trying to take a shortcut and just put my seedlings that I grew outside. So that could have been the problem, but this time I followed every rule with the little peat, and I'm like, there they are again. So I don't know how they're coming in. They're not near anything else. So I don't, the whole tower isn't near any other plants or crops. And so it's just, I don't know.
Jose also says yellow glue traps around can help. If you would like to unmute yourself, Jose, you are more than welcome to. Thank you for your assistance. We're trying to, foster collaboration and mutual learning, right? So
I'm here. Just give me 1 second. Let me see if I can.
Thank you.
Change my camera.
Thank you so much.
Anyway, in the market you can buy the yellow glue traps. I don't think if I have that link, but I will send it to you so you can share with them. It's like the trap that you use for the rats, but it's like for the vegetable, and you can put it in the outside. Okay, so but I will search for that. Okay, I will email that to you.
Thank you. Wow, very quick. That was a very quick order. That's impressive, Elizabeth. Wow.
Okay, good.
You're good.
No, I ordered all this last night. I ordered new neem oil thinking my neem oil was old. I made a pepper. I mean, I have to do this quick or I'm in trouble.
Well, you're on the right track.
I want to just say, Elizabeth, like I don't know if maybe there's a tree or something near there that has an infestation that might be the culprit that they might be coming from. I know that I had a tree outside my apartment one time that had terrible white flies, and it would never go away, unfortunately, until somebody came and did a chemical treatment on it. So I don't know if there is a tree or something nearby that might be the culprit, but they are a persistent pest. So I hope that the traps do well. And I would just say, I know I've seen you posting on our Facebook page. Thank you. And if you would like to give us an update on there of your whitefly saga, then, we would be able to assist you too, and maybe direct the resources.
That's a great point. Thank you, Jeannie. Well, any other questions or thoughts? What has your experience been harvesting?
I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun with Roselle hibiscus. And I love it. And I just sometimes in the garden, I'm kind of creating the garden to where it's community space, obviously, because I run a community garden and school garden, but it's been so much fun having the students that don't want to work in the garden just sit there and talk and peel Roselle, and then we dump them into the dehydrator. And now I have big jars of Roselle hibiscus that for the holidays we'll probably make little tea bags, but that's been a lot of fun. And then I love that. Yeah, I have a grill in the garden, just a little grill that my mom had, like an electric grill. So we pan fry sweet potatoes with olive oil and rosemary. And then we've been grilling until we pan fry those, but at the same time we set up the little grill and we've been grilling satsumas. And the kids are just getting a kick out of charred satsuma. So
I love that. I saw that in the chat. What a great idea.
Super easy. I'm not worried about a lot of the anyway, I should probably be more worried about safety, but anyway.
Just to on your safety, yes, you do need to be worried about safety. But when we're talking about you've harvested, you've washed it, you're putting it on a grill, you're feeding it to the kids, you're fine. You've got 4 to 6 hours, and it's really for prepared foods that are the most dangerous. There are, if we think about, even my family live in England, they keep a lot of their produce right on the kitchen counter. You know what I mean? It's just once it's been cut and it's prepped, that's when you really have to pay attention.
It's a really helpful point. Yeah, any other experiences? What have you done? Or questions that you all have? That's awesome. Charred satsuma, what a great idea. And I love roselle too. It's a plant that can take neglect. That's helped me.
Yeah, I tell my students that it's the Sour Patch of the garden. And it's funny. So for years after years, they come and they're like, hey, Miss Elizabeth, can I have some Sour Patch? But it's fun.
That's awesome.
I'll tell y'all something else that's been a lot of fun is the butterfly pea. And I know that I got it from Palm Beach County, but it's a blast because if you don't know it, it's the butterfly pea flower. It's blue and it has that acid base reaction. So you can make this beautiful butterfly tea or butterfly water, and it's beautiful blue. And then you take the lemon or some sort of citrus or acid, and it just turns this vibrant fuchsia. So that's been a lot of fun too. It's like magic. So it's better than the cabbage thing because you don't really want to drink cabbage juice. So.
That's so cool. Thank you, Elizabeth. Last call for anyone else. Questions, comments, recommendations? No. Okay, well, if you have any further thoughts, questions, or recommendations, you definitely know where to find us. And we look forward to staying in touch. We really do thank you for your time. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Tracy, for your amazing contributions today. Thank you, everyone who participated. It's been a joy, and we hope you enjoy the next couple of months. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Bye.
Bye.